valid. So without further ado, my name is today I'm going to tell you all my testimony. For a long time I guess I can say it since like I didn't understand or I wasn't kidnapped or something like that. And I think that a lot of the times, because we feel that way, it will prevent us from ever sharing it to others, because we devalue it. The Lord may see that as selfishness. He can see that as ungratefulness, because in the Word of God there are these 10 lepers, and Jesus heals all 10 of them, but only one comes back to say thank you for what he had done. And literally that just came to mind. But I think that that is an example of like the selfishness and the inability to praise God for what he has done in your life. Because if you like, whatever your testimony is, whatever it looks like, it is still the Lord's hand on your life, the Lord's hand on a person's life, and how he brought you out of darkness. Because all sin is sin, but you can be giving things to the poor, you can be doing missionary, you can be doing all of these things that you deem as so great. You can be doing those things and God still be displeased with you. So what does that say? That says that I don't have to be a full blown, like I don't have to be fully blown out there for my testimony to be seen as valid. So without further ado, my name is Zaria Smith. My name is presently Esther Hadassah. You may see both names. It is okay to call me by either. I was born in Broward County, Florida, which is near Miami, Florida, if you are unaware of that county. I was born there. I was raised there. We kind of moved throughout the city of Fort Lauderdale a lot. We moved all around Broward County, but a lot of the times we resided in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And so yeah. I've probably been to over 10 schools. I probably went to over 10 schools. If not 10 schools, probably over 10 schools. Because we moved a lot. Typically, every time we moved, majority of the time, every time we moved, I was placed at a new school because of district issues. And so I would say my childhood was it was very fast. I would say, if I could describe it in any words, I would say that it was a lot. It was a lot. Now that I look back on it, it was a lot happening at all times, and I don't know how I ever I don't even know that I was able to stay focused on any particular thing, even if that was school. I wasn't very focused in school ever because of home situations, or so I think as growing up, I was always seeking value, and I think every kid is. We're seeking value, we're seeking acknowledgement, we're seeking to be loved and to feel important. I think everybody feels that way, and felt that way, or feels that way in a sense. And so because I wanted to feel valued and things like that, and because of the family that I did grow up in, and because of my home life, all of that mixed into one, it made this person over here, Zaria. It made her. It made her who she was. And not to say that you're not taking responsibility for your actions. Like no. I think that things that were happening. This is still talking about my childhood. I think that a lot of the things that was happening, I always just. It was always, so say if I had this backpack on right now, I would just, like, if something very impactful happened in my life, that wasn't necessarily good, or that happened around me that wasn't good, I would place it in that backpack and I would keep it moving, and nobody would ever know that these things were happening, or that I was experiencing these things, or that I was feeling these emotions, or you know, that I was at my wit's end. Like, nobody would know that, because life was so fast and life was always moving, and there was always something that needed to be done. And so it was like, you can't really focus on this over here if you have your house burning down. And so yeah, I would say my childhood was very fast, because yeah. Oh, I totally forgot. So I am the only child. I'm the only child. I grew up and I was raised by my mother. My father was murdered before I was born. So yeah, I totally forgot about that part. So going back to, so now we're at my childhood. So yeah, I would say it was very fast, because I'm learning, like there's so much that needs to be learned, and so things were moving very fast. I was exposed to a lot at a young age, and it definitely impacted my thinking and who I'm fighting not to be today. I think that we can overlook certain things that we do, because so one of the things that is a common saying is that some things are taught and other things are caught. And so people don't, your people that are raising you, or people that are around you, your family members, they don't necessarily have to say certain things verbally out of their mouths, but they will communicate through their actions that they agree with this, or they will communicate with their actions that they feel this way. And so I learned a lot through people's actions. I learned what was okay through people's actions. I learned what was not okay through people's actions. And so yeah, I learned what not to say through people's actions. And so yeah, it was a lot happening. I was exposed to a lot at such a young age. And I didn't really, obviously at that age, like, you don't really know how impactful certain things are. You just think that, like, oh well, life is just going, like you just think that like everything is everything, and you see the people around you as you know, like, these are my heroes and they can't do any wrong in my eyes. And so as you grow up, as you grow up in the Lord, when you then decide to serve the Lord, you now have to fight with the perspective, because these were my heroes. These people are whom I found security in. And so as you are in the Lord now you have to separate that in your mind, separate the good from the bad, because we can deem good and bad based off of circumstances. Like, no, this person had to do this, or this person, or you know, things had to be that way because of our circumstance, or because of how things were. You know, things had to be that way because of our circumstance. And so your brain, your kid brain and your teen brain, it will tell you that these things are okay. And as you are now in the Lord, you understand that good and bad is based off of what God says is good and bad, and not what our hearts want to believe is good and bad. No matter how much I want to believe that, you know, that certain things happened in my childhood, because, you know, so, like, I would like to believe that, I would like to see the good in it. I would like to see the good in it, but because God is holy, and because God sent his son Jesus Christ to die on the cross for us, it takes away that ability to reason with the behaviors that were surrounding me, because he's given us access to be free and to be different and to be changed. So I can no longer justify the acts, and I can no longer justify the things that will even happen to me, the things that I personally experienced. I can no longer justify those things and blame myself for those things, because now I have to look at it from the light of the Lord and from how God sees things. And so yeah, my childhood was fast. I would say I grew up very fast. And one of the things that made me sad a lot as a child and even as a teenager was the fact that, you know, you would go to school and I would just always wish, I remember always wishing that my life was different from theirs. Like I remember I always struggled with the like at school I was like having this face like I'm a whole other person at school, but I would always be very, very sad on the inside because I wish that my life had been like theirs, and nobody's life is perfect, but in my brain, like I deemed their life as better than mine. Like at least they're not going home to this or experiencing this or having to, you know, struggle with finances. Like at least they don't have to, and I'm not saying that people don't, because many people struggle with finances or things like that, but I'm saying my life was not everybody else's life. Everybody else's life was not my life. And going to school and seeing and you know, just, you know, the different things that make a home happy. At least what you deemed was happy at that age. It always made me very emotional on the inside. Like always wishing that this wasn't my life, and why was I given this life? Why was this hand the hand that was dealt to me? Why do I have to persevere through this? Why me? Why couldn't I have been, you know, raised in this kind of family or that kind of family? And this isn't to shame anyone, because everything that the Lord did for me, and you know, he brought me into this world, and he did that, and he put me into the family that I had, and he structured my life the way that it was, because eventually I was going to have to overcome, and it was going to make me a better individual in the long run. And that is the hope that I believe, and that is the hope that is within me, that the reasons why I had so much going on around me was because the Lord wanted to use it for his glory. Like when Jesus' disciples asked him, why was this man born in this state? You know, he had some type of illness or some type of infirmity, or something was wrong with him. I don't remember if he was blind or if he was lame or something like that. And the disciples asked Jesus, well, who sinned? Was it his mother, or, you know, who is the reason for this person being in the way that they are? Because the disciples understood generational curses, and they understood how the people over you can have such a major effect on who you are in the life that you live. Even though we don't want to believe that our actions affect other people, they do affect other people. And this is my testimony and how and what I experienced. This is what I experienced. Like I will always remember having to struggle with that in my heart, and always feeling very lonely, and you know, just feeling like the oddball in the entire school. Always feeling like the oddball, like the black sheep, like always feeling like that one person in class, or that one person in the entire school, or, you know, that one person among the friend groups who like you can't tell your friends, or you can't tell people around you, because they won't understand. And they won't understand because the outside world would deem this as bad. But these are your heroes, and this is what you have. And so one of the things that I know as humans is something that we do is because like we don't care if it's something really, really bad. If it's all that we have, if it's what we find our security in, and if it's all that we have, we're gonna hold on to it for dear life. So that was my upbringing. It didn't matter that this is how we obtained finances, and this is how things. It didn't matter, and I couldn't see it as bad or see it as black and white, because this is all I had, and I was gonna hold on to it, and nobody was going to be able to take it away from me. And you could ask anybody around me, like I felt like you weren't gonna be able to change my mind. And you know, that's how I know that the Lord's hand was on my life, because my mind was changed. Maybe like at 10 or 12, around that maybe, or maybe younger, I don't remember, but I started wanting to, one of my dreams was to become a childhood Disney star, because at this time, I was born in 2001, and so at this, I'm presently 21 years old, and so at this time at this like middle stage, before teenage years, but you know, that middle stage, I really wanted to be on Disney Channel, and you know, to experience, you know, because I had, like, you know, we're watching TV and watching, you know, Hannah Montana, and watching, you know, all these different things, and you know, they're telling you like these kids were actors from your age, and that it's very possible for you to be this, it is very possible for you to have all these things, it's very possible for you to live this way, it's very possible for you to become a star. And so I always desired to be that, and to, you know, have that. And so we would go to many different, I went to many different auditions, and whether that be for modeling, whether that be for acting, whether that be for singing. And that was a big, also, we would travel to different places just for me to audition, and just for things, you know, just for me to have the just for it to be a possibility, or just for me to have the experience or whatnot. And so we would do that, and obviously nothing came out of it. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, so it definitely, I would say that experience of, you know, being let down so many times, whether that be because, you know, this agency is fraudulent, or whether it be because this agency wants so much money that we don't have, or whether it be because I just didn't get picked, it definitely took a toll on who I believe that I was in it. And I think at that point in my life, I started to take on this hopelessness. And so from that time on, I always had in the back of my brain, you know, even if people say, even if people will tell you anything, but you can't believe them, I would have that mentality, and the mentality that I can't trust people, and that things were always going to fail me, that people are always going to fail me, and that I can't put all my eggs in one basket, because the basket may just cave in, you know, because I would be constantly, you know, you get your hopes up, like, oh, I'm going to this audition, I'm going to, you know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and you get your hopes up, and you know, when they're constantly being let down, it becomes harder for you to ever have them go back up again. And I have to fight with that same emotion and that same feeling today, with that hopelessness if something doesn't go my way, or if something doesn't happen the way that I want it to happen. You know, struggling with that hopelessness, that we cannot carry that type of thinking, because God is good, and if something doesn't work out, it's because it's His will for it to not work out. And so that is the Christian perspective. And so yeah, I did the modeling and things for a while, and I think also in middle school, that's when things kind of took a turn, because I started experiencing different things. I started to be exposed to even more things. I started to be exposed to even more things via the internet. Instagram was very popular at that time. It's popular now, but it was very, like, that was what everybody had Instagram. And so at that time, you know, it was just a lot going on 24/7, you know, 365 with a cell phone. So you're being exposed to things via the social internet. And I remember bullying was a very big topic back then as well. So I think in middle school things kind of started to shift as far as what I was being exposed to, like, and what, you know, different things. I started to try to, you know, take on this identity of who I believed I was, and it's all because I wanted to feel significant and I wanted to feel important. And so yeah, I started to be involved in certain things, certain activities that I only ever did because I wanted to feel valued. I wanted that image, you know, I was looking for a certain image that derived from a healthy home, and I could not get that image because that was not what I had. So I was using what the cards that I had, but it was never ever equaling out what I would view the next person had. And so I would always still, that feeling would still be with me. And so yeah, things started to turn. I started to do things, started to be involved in things, started to become what I, you know, a teenager, and what teenagers do. And so I always had issues with teachers, always had issues. But I think in middle school it became even greater. Yeah, it became much more greater. I started to get into lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of physical altercations, mainly because if I could remember back then, I think I got into so many physical altercations with others was because I would be going to new schools, and if I'm being honest, I felt like I wanted to be a part of this crowd, you know, as they say, like they talk about it in movies and shows, but when it's like real life, it's like, oh no, like this was actually what happened. So I wanted to be a part of what the school's in crowd was, and even if they're an older grade than me, but I wanted to be a part of that crowd. And so what I did was I reverence. I would want people to fear me. I would want people to find me important or significant, and I would want to feel valued, and I would want to be among that crowd, the it crowd. And so it didn't. So I would, you know, do things or start things with people, or, you know, because not all the time it was me starting, but, you know, it could be other people. But like if it was kind of like, if you start with me, then, you know, I'm never gonna stop, because I want for you to know, and I want for all you to know over there and over there, that you don't mess with me, and you know, and I wanted other people to see, other people to watch me be this way with this person, or be this way with that person, so that they would be like, oh yeah, she's cool, you know, oh yeah, she can hang with us, oh yeah, like, because that's how it was. Sadly, that's how it was. That's how you get, that's how, and unless you are like already had friends, like that's what you had to do, or, you know, basically that's what you had to do, and that's who you had to be. And people will reach out to you, oh, I heard you did that, I heard you, you know, fought this person, I heard you did this, and like, you know, and that would then start forming relationships. And it did. It definitely did. It didn't form relationships with the people that I should have had relationships with, but it formed relationships. And you know, yeah, so and that's basically, that was probably all of middle school. That was probably all of middle school. Trying to find value in guys, trying to find value in friendships, you know, trying to find value in other things. And and I didn't necessarily want to be that person. I didn't want to be that person, but after a while, when you choose to be that kind of person, it's hard for people it's hard for you to change from being that person. It's hard for people to stop viewing you as that kind of person, that violent person, or, you know, like it's hard for them their perspective to change about you. So even as I started to become more indulged in my singing, you know, for people to, I don't know, in my brain it was kind of like, well, you are the fighter, you're not the singer, so you can't do that. You know, people don't respect you. You know, because if I'm being completely honest, because I didn't just have these issues with people that were at school, but I would have these issues all over. So you have Instagram, and I lived in Broward County. You know, like there would be this group, not like a specific group, but like all of the people my age or higher would, you know, everybody would be following everybody. And so there was this, like, if we could picture it, it would be like, it's all these people, and they all live in Broward County, and everybody follows everybody, and everybody knows everybody. And so I would get into so many different altercations with people, even online, you know, for that same reason. You know, well, I want to be amongst this crowd or whatever on even on social media, I wanted to know these people, or to be friends with these people, or to be a part of this crowd, because everybody in Broward knows these people. Everybody in Broward knows these people. And so it was kind of like that. And which is, you know, it's very, very weird. But that's how it was at that time of my life. And so yeah, so I remember doing, and as I got older, as I got into high school, the violence, it continued. It did continue, but I was also trying to, you know, do singing and things like that. But the violence did continue, because as you're getting older, now there's much more to key in as far as who you are, because now you're in high school and now you're like becoming someone. Like now you're actually coming in a young adult, and so now you have to figure out who you want to be and who you are. And I think like, and so things like, it was just, yeah, like I still wanted to be something. I still wanted to be something, and I was always singing from a kid to now. I was always writing music and doing things like that. But as like high school, I started taking more seriously. The year of going into sophomore year, I was told that we were going to be moving to Lake Wells, Florida, which is like a very, very small town in Florida. It's like a country town. Like, it was very, very culture shocking for me. Like, it's one high school in the entire city. I was told that we were moving there, and this was sophomore year, and so yeah, in sophomore to senior year, I actually ended up staying there. That was the first time, I believe, that I stayed out of school for 3 years. Yeah, I started to become more and more indulged in my singing, and we would drive from Lake Wells, Florida, which is, I think it was like 3 hours. I think it was like 3 hours. So we would drive from there to Fort Lauderdale, and like if I wanted to go to the studio or something. My mom loved driving, so we would drive, and because I would be taking my music more seriously, did photo shoots, you know, so much. Like, I was really indulged. I was like putting my heart in, and because at that time too, as far as in society, people were becoming more and more known, and becoming famous off of they were becoming famous off of like videos that they were doing on their phones, and they would just post it on social media, and people would repost it, and they would just become famous. And so I would be striving at that, doing stuff like doing shows. Like at the time, like right before I made a decision to get saved, I was doing shows. I would just be at this club or be at this place, and I would be performing. And so so in the middle of senior year, I was told that we were moving again, and we moved. I ended up moving to West Palm Beach, Florida. So I ended up moving with my aunt and uncle in West Palm Beach, Florida. And mind you, on the back burner, because we've been talking about me as far as school. So on the back burner in my personal life, I have been in and out of this church, Jesus Ministries, and I would go very frequently, and I would stop going, or I would go on the weekends, because I would be living in Fort Lauderdale at that time, and they would be in West Palm Beach. And so I would only be able to go typically on the weekends or during the summer. And so yeah, I was going in and off. And I remember the first time I went, we were in the car driving on the highway, because she called my mom and she was like, hey, I want Zari to come, because she had just moved to West Palm Beach. Yeah, that's what happened. And it was new for her, it was new for me, and she was sick. I didn't really understand what was going on, because she asked my mom, she was like, hey, I want Zari to come down here to visit me while I go to, I'm going to this church. I'm going to church, and she had got married to my uncle. So yeah, so she was going to this church, and she wanted me to visit and see about it. And that was the first day I went. And I'm like sitting there with my, you know, my church dress on, like this I remember the exact dress. It was this black dress with this big white bow on the side, and yeah, it was very, I was so used to going to Baptist churches. So like me and my mom would go to church, but we was very like on and off. We would go if my grandma was going, or we would go for like different things, small things. We went when we were living in, we would go when we were living in Lake Wells to this church, but we wouldn't go very frequently. So I was not brought up or raised in church. And so when I went to Jesus Ministries, I was very like, this is different, you know, this is different. Like, this is different. And as I started going more and more, my soul or my heart started to see something, which was that like this rareness that I was feeling, like this, like I had been given something that was rare. The teaching and the worship and everything was very authentic, and I wasn't used to that. I was used to like, yes, and like, you know, you gotta go get your blessing, yes, and then, or like, you know, using carnal music, hip-hop music inside of the sermons, and so you wouldn't be able to distinguish if you were living right for God or if you were living wrong for God, because they would be entertaining you in a worldly way. So because they are, the pastors and the leadership would be outside the will of God. So this was very new to me because I didn't really know about church. I didn't really know about church, and from what I seen, this was the only picture of it that I was given. And so coming to Jesus Ministries, visiting there, I was very shocked, and it was shocked in a good way, and I wanted to keep coming. And I met this one person, and I would say she definitely helped me in that time of like first coming, because I was very like, I didn't understand a lot. Like I didn't understand a lot. I didn't understand order. I didn't understand a lot because I didn't come from that. And she helped me as far as understanding who the Lord was, and understanding. And one of the things she showed me is that, because I guess, you know, we could see Christianity as boring, and like you know, it's very rules, all these rules and things like that. But she, like, with her being my friend at that time, I think I was like 12 or 13. Her being my friend at that time, I was like, this is not boring. Like, we still do fun things. You know, we pray and we read and we still do fun things, you know. But anyway, so yeah, I started visiting that church. And so when we ended up moving, when we ended up moving from Lake Wells, and I had to move to West Palm Beach, and I started going to the church, but now on a consistent basis, because I was living in those months, you know, and I went to a new school, a new high school, so a new school, so this was different. So in a sense, I kind of was happy, because like, this is a new start, and this was the start I always wanted. I always had wanted to go live with them, and like, but I also wanted to live with them. I also wanted to have this life over here. And so yeah, I had started high school there, and before even getting to that, I remember praying. The first night I came to their house, my aunt's house, when we first got back to that side. I remember praying, and I asked the Lord, I said, God, if you want me to stay here, I did one of those. I was like, God, if you want me to stay here, if you want me you want me to live here, if you want me to, you know, serve you, then you have to do something so that I don't have to go back home or go back to wherever we were going to be living with my mom. And it wasn't necessarily her, it was just that I had always wanted to see what this life was like. Oh yeah, so I prayed to the Lord, and the next morning I got a message, and it was like, basically something happened to the car, so we were unable to, something very bad happened to the car, so we were going to be stuck for a while, probably at least a year. And so that was the exact next morning. Like, I woke up, I checked my phone, and that was what I saw. And so that was a testimony in itself of how the Lord really desired to have me. So yeah, so I started a new high school there, and you know, I had some turmoil as far as that, but I'm gonna get to that in my next video that I posted about high school, my high school testimony when I went to West Palm Beach, with trying to be a Christian and trying to live righteously in the Lord's eyes. So yeah, my life was a lot, but you know, the Lord, he sustained me, and he was with me in times where I didn't even think that he was with me. Like, I remember because I had been exposed to the truth at Jesus Ministries when I was, you know, I had been exposed and I knew so much, and I had been baptized and everything. A lot of the times I would end up just going back to what I knew, because I didn't have enough strength, I believe, to endure. And I remember just like in time we'd be driving in the car, or you know, doing different things, and I would remember, and I remember like the thoughts that would cross my mind, like this could happen, or this could happen. And I was always living, at this young age, I was always living looking over my shoulder, because when you're exposed to this, you are then held accountable to it. Like because the Lord saved you, because you have a testimony, because the Lord delivered you, you then have to, there needs to be fruit of the fact that he delivered you, and so that he didn't do certain things in vain, because he doesn't do anything in vain. So your life needs to not be a vain life. It was a lot, but I endured because the Lord wanted me. He wanted me, and it just shows that he was going to do whatever it takes to get me, and to purify me, and to sanctify me, and to make me the individual who I am today, more full of his love, more full of his glory, more full of his righteousness, more full of his holiness, not seeking validation in people, or seeking validation in worldly things, or in the successes of the world, but getting my validation from him, and getting my love from him, and my security, because that is the only real security and the only real love. That, like the woman at the well in John 4, like this is the water that you have, but if you have known who asked of you to give me the water, I would have given you life-giving water. And so I believe that our testimonies are an exchange of water. I believe our testimonies are an exchange of, you know, give me that. You don't have to keep coming here to this well. Give me the temporary, and I can give you that which is eternal, if we just hand it over. So yes, that's my testimony. I pray it encouraged you, and mostly I pray that it showed you that every testimony is different and it's unique in its own way, but the similarity that each one of us have is that the Lord was there. Like regardless of what your testimony was like, or what your testimony is, it's okay to share it, because it shows others how your testimony can be unique, or it doesn't have to be unique, but it's unique for you because you're you, and there's only one you. And so God had to work through your life in order to get you to come to him, and that's very much something to be proud of.